Welcome to the Don't Die Rusty podcast. I'm Rick Hansen, and we will be talking about living, not dying. We're all on this adventure together, and we will be interviewing people who inspire us to live our best lives. People with various backgrounds who will walk us down the trails they took to not die rusty. Adventure in life are many things to many people. It could be a sprint or an endurance race, but with each adventure, we become a better version of us. We hope you keep chasing those dreams, being the best you, and of course, don't die rusty.
Hello, Don't Die Rusty Nation. I'm Christy Brule, and I will be your host tonight. It is Patriots Day, September 11th, and I just so happen to be sitting here with two of the most patriotic people that I know. And first, and you all know him very well, is tonight's co-host and my partner in adventure, Rick Hansen. How are you, man?
Well, I am doing very, very well. I didn't even think about putting out a flag underwear and flag post today about that kind of stuff of everything, but I think this is more of a somber moment today.
I thought for sure you'd be wearing the boxers.
Yeah, no, it's more of a somber moment that today for Patriots Day. So I better not have done some of my other patriotic red, white, and blue posts. But this is the conversation. It's interesting being a co-host. At times, I've been that with you because we decide on our guess who was going to be who and what and who's going to take the lead. But this is going to be a great conversation because you're with your sister and I'm going to hopefully chime in here when I stir the pot a little bit or whatever we got to do. But this will be a good conversation with this recap of the last 10. Can you believe that we've done 30?
Yeah, episode 30. Yeah.
That is amazing to me.
Yeah, and for all of our listeners who have been following us from the beginning, they would know that this would be a recap episode, something that we try to do where we just like to reflect on some of the earlier moments that we had, some more poignant moments during certain conversations, and usually we get a couple of really good laughs, and then we like to bring in one of our biggest fans to the show, which happens to be, one of my biggest mentors in life, my sister. And so super happy to have her here. And I think before we dive in, like you said, just want to take a moment to honor the first responders that died during the 9/11 attack, and we also want to honor their families, the veterans, and the people who currently serve. So thank you for your service. We salute you.
Yes, we do, because there's moments in time, and everybody has their moments in time, and I remember exactly where I was that day, and I remember exactly the weather. I remember exactly everything that happened, and you can't believe what's going on. And it was the first time you heard that a plane went into the building. Was that an accident? And then people are watching, and then the second one goes in, and we're going, holy moly, this Red Dawn, kind of thing. But.
So, yeah, episode 30, recap episode, and I would like to introduce my sister, Christy Brule. And so, sister, how about you give all of our listeners just a little bit of an introduction about yourself, and then maybe we can dive into a little bit about, what you've done throughout your life, because you also you live the ethos. You live the Don't Die Rusty mindset. And so maybe you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Hello. Thanks for having me, Don't Die Rusty Nation. I am Christy Brule, Ricky's sister. And I'm here to help recap the episodes. I'm a big fan of this show, so I'm excited to be here. Also, maybe a perspective, I'm a single mom. I'm a business professional, and I'm also a traveler. I'm really passionate about traveling and going on adventures. And so mine are a little different than yours. I'm always on an airplane and in a hotel, right? But still, I still find adventures. So thanks for having me.
Are you an older sister? Are you older than Ricky?
I am, yep. So
Okay.
I'm the oldest of three, and we're all 2 years apart. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and she may as well have been my mother because she pretty much raised me when we were younger. I mean, nothing against my mother. They just, mom and dad were very busy working, doing all that kind of stuff, and so we just figured out ways to take care of each other. So,
We did.
yeah. So yeah, we got lots of stories about all that.
We do, for sure. And it's interesting. So one of the things this Don't Die Rusty motto has brought to my life is I've spent a lot of time out here. We're out on my patio right now, just thinking about the times, pivotal moments back in my life where I really did don't die rusty, right? Where you could have went a different path, right? But you decided to chase your dreams and get into a better place. And so one of the first things I thought about is the fact that we grew up in a small town, right? And a lot of people talk about that, but we're the kids that had breakfast, left in the morning on our bikes, and we didn't come back till, the street lights came on.
Yep.
That was our rule. And so I thought it'd be interesting to ask you guys. One of the things I was thinking about is because we were able to grow up in that with all that freedom and just kind of running and doing whatever we want. Would you think that we're more willing to take risks, just having all that freedom, right? I'm thinking about making bike ramps down the road that weren't necessarily safe, or at the end of a hill when you're sledding. How do you think just growing up in a small town impacts the Don't Die Rusty motto?
Well, I can say for sure that there's certain areas of my life that I definitely take a lot of risks. There's other areas where I've been a little bit too safe, like probably with my career. But the apple certainly doesn't fall too far from the tree, because my daughter she's an adrenaline junkie. I mean, she's very risky. She takes a lot of risks, but and so maybe I feel like she probably gets that from me, because I think Susan's a little bit more kind of under control and grounded and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think I would agree with that. I definitely think that growing up in a small town, and like you said, we didn't always have to have our parents. They didn't always have to know where we were all the time, and it's just a different time now, and it's a little bit unfortunate, but at the same time, I love spending time with Emma, and I love spending time with her and with Coda, and just having some of that time too. So there's that balance. But what about you, Rick?
Well, I think I know that growing up in the era that I grew up in, it at least helped me with independence, because I had all kinds of I had an imagination. And here's another aspect that I think, I don't know about you guys, but we only had 3 channels on TV, and Mom and Dad, there was no other, today I see kids making the choices of what you watch, and that is never happened. You either watch the news with Mom and Dad, or you watch what they wanted to. And if you didn't, I would go read a book, and then I'd go, that's where I think I've learned to love to read. I think that the independence of, like you said, we're jumping all kinds of crazy things on a banana seat bike, bending rims and doing stuff that you probably, I grew up on a ranch. I mean, we had an old corn crib, and I'd jump off it in the hay to have my mom, and you're way up in the air and you're just doing crazy things. But I think it either toughened you up and made you mentally, you rub some dirt on it, you keep going. And I think that's where the Don't Die Rusty, because I don't want to think that I've missed out on things. I shouldn't say that, but I'd say I don't want to. When I get to the end, I want to have memories. Like if I can't do things, I want to know that I did them.
Yeah.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like I have memories.
So Rick, this might not have been the case for you, but like for us, you were talking about TV, right? So I think when we were, when we were like teenagers, or like 10, 11, 12, whatever it may be, there was always we loved watching Cheers with our folks. We always watched Cheers with our folks all the time. And then when that song comes on at the end, that's the cue to go to bed, right? and then you want to stay up later, and then MASH comes on, and then you're like, okay, I'm cool, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
But sometimes I
Here,
would see, now I actually think MASH is an entertaining
Yeah.
show, but back then I was like, oh
Like,
gosh,
yeah.
don't put me through that, I'm going to bed. So
and I mean, this is very, when you talk about TV, I mean, there's no Cartoon Channel, Nickelodeon, or anything like that. But do you guys remember, like, I used to get to watch Friday night before the new cartoons would come out. They'd have like teasers for the Saturday morning,
oh really?
Mhm.
and Saturday morning cartoons came on, and it was like, that was cool, and
Yep.
now
Yeah.
there's
Yep.
nothing.
There's just cartoons whenever you want them.
Yeah, they get them all
Yeah.
the time.
Exactly. I probably am one. I don't know, but
So you guys will also learn I'm a huge Vikings football fan, and the reason I am is because of this. Every Sunday, the only thing that was on the TV was football. So one day when I was, like 16, I finally sat down with my dad and said, "Hey, if I'm going to be forced to watch this, you might as well teach me, show me how this works." And so,
Yep.
sometimes those limited options, right, made us big fans.
all right. But have you ever seen the Vikings trophy room? Nobody has.
That did it. That did it, Rick. Those are fighting words. Actually, lucky for you, I'm not a glutton for punishment, so I don't really watch them as much as I used to.
Hey, they're not going to die rusty. They're going to keep aiming for that trophy
There you
someday,
go.
Rick, someday.
Got to give them that. Got to give them that. Kirk Cousins wasn't going to do it.
No. Hey, we won
Well,
on
I'm a
Sunday.
Cowboys fan.
Man, you have no grounds to stand on talking about our trophy room. Come on now.
We have Super Bowls, boy.
Yeah, you do have a few. You do have a few. And I appreciate the support that you give us. You know what I mean? That's huge. And so that's part of the reason why we wanted to have you on. And then every time I talk to you, you're like, yeah, I listened to this episode and I listened to this episode. And so you're a good study, right?
Yeah.
So you're a perfect person to have on for us to look back and recap the previous episodes. So
Listening to all the episodes, I mean, it doesn't even need to be a recap for the last 10. I mean, what's your favorite episode?
I said just being the female on the show was that I was going to just try highlight all the females here, right?
oh, okay. Here I thought you were going to say my episode is my favorite episode.
Of course, this one is my favorite. But I will say I listened to just today. I realized I'd missed it, but I listened to Wild Mountain Man Dan today, and I smiled the entire time. And it is now on my bucket list, right, to get a bear hug from that professional hugger. So he's definitely up there for one of the top episodes. So yeah.
What are so Rick, let's go through we can go through them starting with who would it be? Dan Horgan?
Dan Horgan.
Mr. Dan Horgan.
Yes. I mean, Dan Horgan, he was full of energy. I mean, he started out military, then he went to become a cop, and then got out of that and went back to military, wasn't it? Went back to military, and then now he's like a marketer. For big companies with Black Rifle and all that. What he's doing with Warrior Bonfire and the other places that he's been, I mean, putting military out, I mean, putting injured, he was more Purple Heart people out into where they needed to be, and helping them heal was amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I get out of it is like sometimes in this day and age, we talked about earlier about us growing up, but in this day and age, sometimes we forget about the military people because we forget that they're even out there. You know what I mean? I mean, we're lucky enough to hang around some of these people, and to get Dan on. But and then Tomy we've had Tomy and Dara on, but we've had people on that have impacted other people, and that's what I liked more about the conversation with Dan is how he was impacting people with Warrior Bonfire. He had more of a calling. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Hmm.
So and from my perspective, that's what I really remember and love. Because if we can make an impact on anybody, but he's making an impact on warriors that have been hurt or whatever, mentally, physically, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was a real. It was. I was excited to talk with him because I had been following along with his journey on LinkedIn for probably a couple of years, and he just had a different style and different way of doing things. I mean, he was professional, but then still very playful. Like everything he does, he
Hmm.
tries to add a comedic element to what he does, and yeah, he's a man of many talents, and it was really cool to hear. I didn't know he was doing the Warrior Bonfire thing, and I love that concept. I think it's amazing to take people
Yep.
out and just what they do with the ashes and all that kind of stuff. I won't get too much into detail because you should go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. But yeah, that was a
Yeah.
fun conversation.
Yeah. So no, my notebook says bonfire and veterans with a heart by it, just so you know, because veterans have a really soft spot in my heart. So I love what he does. And he actually ended it saying, "Don't die with regrets." So he
Mm-hmm.
changed "Don't die rusty" to "Don't die with
Yeah.
regrets."
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I take from Dan, because I fully believe that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so that was a wonderful conversation. And then the next conversation we had was with Garrett Vandersize, and he's from Spearfish, and his wife had gotten a hold of me
Mm-hmm.
a while ago. I mean, this took a while to get to this conversation, and it was interesting because when we did Kyle Craft, then that came up. I mean, it was interesting because he was an off road racer too. So, but when he came, when you have when you have fans that understand what you're trying to do with Don't Die Rusty, that's what he's living a Don't Die Rusty lifestyle within his wife and kids actually. But you know, uh, that was an amazing to sit down. I mean, he's from Spearfish, so to have him here sitting with me and we get to have a little more conversation was amazing. And I mean, to decide, I think it was 45 days before and I'm going to go do the Baja 1000. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a fun to me is just because that's the way I want to live. Like, I mean, there's some things I don't think I could do, but like, I want to go do that. I think I will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it sounds like Christy does that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I under his I wrote it's never too late to chase your dreams, right? I'm sure at some point in your life you think, "No, I'm never going to be able to go do a motorcycle race." But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can. Just
Yeah.
go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just an unbelievable thing to do too. Like of all the things you could do, I mean, I thought it was pretty crazy to go jump out of a plane in my late 30s, but um, it's just like, man, like the amount of endurance that you have to have, and just when he was talking about having swords, in certain places, that you don't even want to talk about, and I'm just like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, so, but yeah, I mean, just a cool thing to do, and I love that because it's like there's so many things in life that I want to do too, or like you said, I might have just said, I don't, maybe I will never do that, uh, but it makes me want to like rethink that, you know.
Yep. And it's just that inspired me even more to keep. There's days. I mean, I think. I mean, you saw that post on Monday. I said I'm tired. But
Mm-hmm.
some days you are tired, but you got to keep moving forward.
Yep.
To have people that what I'm tired, sore, and I'm still on my motorcycle going 1,000 miles, or
Mm-hmm.
that's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So, and then here's I don't. I figured. I thought Christy would have more in-depth conversation since if we're talking about Kyle Kraft and Garrett Vanderslice, how they peed when they were racing. I mean, I'm just kidding. We learned a lot. We go deep into other areas.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
these
Well,
conversations.
I've had a lot of experience. I was part of a race crew for a while once in my
Oh,
day,
that's
so
right, you were.
I knew the answers to all those questions before you guys did. So I know how
That's
they
right.
keep pulling those cars.
That's right.
I know how hot it gets in those cars, and yeah.
Yeah.
So
Didn't you or was it another gal try to run you off the dirt track or something?
So I won a race in Brainerd on the dirt track. They had a powder puff. They used to call it powder puff race,
Yeah.
where the girls can race, and so they got me right out there in the front, and they said it was probably the most exciting race of the night. I came around the last lap, and the girl hit me and spun me out right across the finish line, and I was so mad. And but they gave me the trophy, so I still have the pink trophy. But I
Awesome.
actually won a dirt race.
Oh, I
so.
totally forgot about that, man.
It's on video. The
You didn't-
funniest part about it is you think that you're going as fast as those other guys. You
Yeah.
feel like you're just flying, and then you watch the video and like, you're just putting along. Like,
So you didn't throw like your helmet down and get right in their faces with cameras there saying,
when I got back, I did throw some stuff, but they made me. They wouldn't let me go. They wouldn't let me go talk to her. So.
Yeah, I think most men fear my sister.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they may have had to hold me back, but it was okay. Yeah. Eventually, I calmed down and told her I understand. It was fine. She just wanted to win. you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Rubbin's racing.
Yeah.
that made me think when we went and saw Whiskey Myers, a few months back. It was me and Susan and Christy, and we had to leave just a little bit early because Susan's daughter Maya was watching Emma, and so we didn't want her to be out too late. And so we were going to take off early, but Susan was like, "Man, I'm really worried about your sister, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want her to be all alone and all that." And I was like, "I'm more worried about the guys." You don't got to worry about my sister. I'm more worried about any guy that like tries to come along and do something. So she'll be just fine.
I was fine.
Yeah.
I told her,
Yeah.
just go. I got this.
Well, and then we went to Mitch Gordon.
Mr. Mitch
He's a
Gordon.
country singer and chaser of dreams, and from Minnesota. And it's interesting how you become friends with people that through other friends, and it's one of those things, you just keep on moving forward, and you talk to each other when you can or whatever, so that's
Mhm.
pretty cool,
Mhm.
and he gave us perspective of the music industry and chasing his dreams, and that you don't think of, I think of, I think of when you are a musician, you want to be Garth Brooks, Whiskey Myers, Cody Jinks or whatever, and you don't think about like there's levels that you can keep on doing what you love,
Mhm.
and that's what's the most important thing about this whole thing is he's doing what he loves.
Yeah.
Yeah, the singer of songs. I haven't seen him. I'm so excited to now. We're gonna have to have a family concert day if he comes around here
know.
again. So, and I also just love that he's keeping it simple, right? And I actually just love country music, and I actually kind of like just a solo artist with their guitar over having to go to these big huge concerts now and these huge
Yep.
deals and. So I love that he's keeping it simple, and I also liked he said that he doesn't care. He's at the place where he just doesn't care what people think, right? He's just going out doing what he loves, doing his passion, just for him and his audience, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shocked that I have not seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had heard of him, months before we talked to him, just because Rick and I were kind of talking a little
Mhm.
bit. We were talking about trying to see if we could talk him into writing a song for us, and and we also have another mutual friend, Tom Carroll, but yeah, just shocked that neither of us have seen him
Yeah.
live in concert, and he does a lot of private stuff, for like weddings and things like that, but he's out every weekend almost. He's out playing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So he's getting at it, and I think he's traveling a little bit right now, but whenever he gets back around, we definitely got to make a plan to go see him, because he just seems like a really great guy all around.
Well, we might have to all, you'll have to load up your sister and Susan and Emma, and I'll load up Cindy, and we'll get Tommy, and we'll end up in Oaks, North Dakota at the Beaver Bar, Angry Beaver Bar.
The Angry Beaver, yeah. Yeah, I think we did talk about that. We got to try to make that work. That would be awesome.
Yeah, have Mitch play there. That'd be fun. Maybe when we get back, we'll head to the lodge there. He could give us a solo concert too.
There we go.
Nice.
Yeah. There we go.
No, that's the first time I met Mitch was here in Spearfish, because like we said, Tom Carroll just sent me. I have a friend that's going to be playing there, and so that was pretty cool. So, and then that was a while ago. So this is really cool to stay in contact and know people. That's friends you surround yourself with.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm going to take this opportunity to call Tom Carroll out again. In case he's listening to this, you need to be on the podcast, bud. Let's go.
Yes, Tommy. Come on, man. It's not so difficult.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So the next one is our professional hugger, Wild Mountain Man Dan. Now, here's the deal. The funny part about this, and Ricky knows it, but to get this interview done is one of the most amazing feats we've ever done, I think, in all this whole thing. Don't you think?
Yeah, and the beauty so I'm going to lean on you a little bit here, Rick, but the motions that you and I had to go through to make this all happen, as far as getting the equipment, getting the recording, doing this all remotely, making videos, doing stuff technologically, is nothing compared to how it worked with him. Actually, and actually, it went really smoothly, way more smooth than I thought. I'm thinking, I don't know how this is going to work with a man who's off grid.
Yeah.
But when I talked to him, he said, yeah, we should be able to make this work. I've got an assistant. She does all the technological stuff for me. And he, he's out there making reels and doing all that kind of stuff. And, Wild Mountain Man Dan, I mean, you can't say it any better than that. He is the epitome of that name. And, Jess Caldwell couldn't have come up with a better name. So I think, it was pretty phenomenal that we were able to make that work out. And there was a slight delay in the conversation, but aside from that, he is just a tremendous man and such a cool dude to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
He was. It was a very fun, and it was a conversation that I didn't know what we were going to have. Like, all of our conversations go in different directions and stuff, but it was so fun to have him tell his stories, and be it about professional hugging and doing whatever else, and to add truth in conversation is different these days, because too many people aren't as genuine, and he is so genuine. Is like, I can imagine walking up to him and getting a big hug right then,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He just has to make everybody smile just when you see him. He's just such a happy persona, and I really liked when he said, get off the couch and do it. The reason you're tired is because you're sitting on the couch. So I'll think about that a lot. This is why I'm tired. I got to go.
It's that simple, right? Like, just... Yeah, he was cool to talk to. I look forward to having more conversations with him too. He sends me messages like every week, so So again, but yeah, I should probably give him a phone call. I have T-shirts coming, so I'll be able to send him one too. So.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
That is so cool. And then after that was I drove out to I did this one without you, but it was Cody
Hmm.
Custer and Jerry Norton, world champion bull rider Cody Custer in '92 and Jerry Norton in '98 as a world champion bullfighter, and it is the most amazing things because like Ricky and I have talked, and we want to have a diversity of people. We don't
Hmm.
want to be labeled ever, and want to, and I grew up on a ranch, like I said, so I know who these people are. And actually, Jerry's been to Heights, and we're going to do a conversation with him here in a few episodes. But I learned so much from those guys, and they gave out so much. I think people don't think some people are as deep as they are.
Hmm.
And that conversation we had was pretty deep in some areas.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I enjoyed listening. And I wish we, actually at supper that night, I wish we would have had a little more. I wish I could push record too, because we had a great conversation at supper too.
Hmm.
And I wish you would have been able to be a part of this, because it was
Yeah.
just one of those fun conversations that I went, but Ricky was there. I don't know if you saw that, Christy, but Ricky was there because I FaceTimed him at
Yeah.
a
At a
freaking
concert.
concert because I was panicking.
Yeah.
I was there, man. I was there whispering in your ear, and you got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These guys, this is the one that I probably took the most notes on, because as they kept going, I just kept thinking, wow, that's really inspirational, right? But I mean, bullfighting world champions, can you just
Yeah.
imagine? And they talked about preparing, right? Being mentally tough, and having to compartmentalize that. And I like when he said, put things where they belong, right? Like, you have to be
Yep.
fully focused there. You have to forget about all this other stuff outside and just focus on what you're doing there, right? And at one point they said, that was a valley. Now you got to work yourself back up to the peak. So
Hmm.
I like thinking about
Mhm.
tough situations like that, right? Like, you just got to climb back out of it. And then all their work with the kids, right? Talking to the kids and just telling them to, just being really honest with them, and just saying, look, and being honest and saying, I've made some bad decisions, right? Everybody does. Don't let that hold you back. Just look forward and make some good decisions.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that was a great episode.
Yeah, and talk about a couple of uh, you know I just I don't know that a man can get much. I don't know how to say this without it sounding weird, but these are some hard men. I mean, you're jumping on bulls and you're running away from bulls. I mean, you don't. What are you? This is craziness.
Yeah.
And then so they've got a very just rigid, solid, hardness about them. But then to have that conversation and to see that softer side of them, and like you said, just in depth and you know, uh, just very intellectual individuals. And to Christy's point too, I love what they're doing with bringing new people into the sport, and the way that Cody was like, this buckle, it's just a piece of metal, you know what I mean? But there's a goal there, you know what I mean? And you got to work hard. You got to work
Yeah.
hard if you want to get it, And I love
And
that.
and yes, and very few people will ever have that buckle that
Yeah.
says world champion.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I mean, I don't know about you guys, but to see there was kind of steps with Cody. I mean, he talked about his life and the steps he took to get to become that world champion. Like, he talked about his early life, and then he talked about being in Billings, Montana, and said, you know what, I need to stop smoking weed here. And then he went to, I got to stop uh, drinking, and then he found God. And you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know if, just gave himself and became world champion.
Yeah. great conversation with those guys, and I'm bummed that I missed out on it, but I'm excited to get a second chance at having that chat with Jerry Norton.
Yeah, because that'll be interesting. And if that would have been, if I would have talked to him about that night, I mean, talked to him about what we're going to talk to him about in the next episode, that I wouldn't have got home till 4 in the morning. So yeah, because I think it's going to be a long, good conversation.
Yeah, and I'm certain we'll have another opportunity to have a conversation with Cody as well.
The next one is Dan Stakes. And actually that's from another listener, that Samantha Gups, who said my brother has a story to tell. So, and that one ended up going in a lot. Hold on here a second. Bella, shut the up. Oh, just had to get. I know we can edit that one out, but
I'm not editing that out for the record.
but no, they to he got in depth and emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and about a lot of things in this conversation about his, I mean, you and I, all of us in this conversation have appreciation for veterans,
Mm-hmm.
but none of us have been blown up in a truck,
No.
and none of us have been shot at. And for him to tell us about the true brotherhood in the in-depth part that he did, in the raw emotions of this conversation, it hit me harder in the conversation than I thought it would.
Yeah. I mean, what can you say about Dan motherfucking Stakes?
I know.
Or what can't you say? Should I say? He had those moments. The people listening might not realize this, and hopefully Dan doesn't get mad at me for saying this, but when you're watching the video, there's a brief moments of silence where you'll hear his glass clinking, and that's him taking a drink, and it's his way of taking a quick break, getting a breather, because he's getting emotional. And when he's about to say, talk about what it's like to see your brother get blown up, I almost started to cry. I got the lump in the throat, and I was just like, my eyes started to water up, because I think about that. You know what I mean? I think about you, Rick. I think about, Ears and just all these other, like, really good friends of mine, like, being in that place at that time and that happening. And I'm just like, I can't even imagine what that would be like, and then to have the miracle of surviving that and then coming back stateside and watching your friend slowly deteriorate over time. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Like, which way do you go? Do you push them really hard? Is it tough love? Or is that going to push them further into that depth? Or do you, is it just straight, how do you, I don't know. How do you navigate that, And so just an incredible story. And then to hear about how, this finding out about his dad and how that story unfolded, I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, I feel like he needs a movie or something.
Yeah, definitely. That rawness. I got emotional with that himself, and I knew that he was getting emotional, but I wanted to get to this point of in these 30 episodes we did. I'm not talking about just the last 10 here. In the 30 episodes that we have done, and I would say 90% of them, I mean, we're trying to get females on. We've talked about that. But we have had more emotional instances with men that you would never think you would have.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think we've talked about a lot of raw emotion, and like I said, Don't Die Rusty takes us to places that other we're just not asking questions. We're having the true in-depth conversation because I'm not trying to be Ted Lasso, but I am curious. I'm not judgmental. I want to know why.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want to know why you felt that way or where you got to. And I think that we're lucky in that, Ricky. But I think we bring that out because I've been told before. I mean, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I feel
so what do
like
you think, Christy?
he is the definition of keep fighting. That's what I wrote because after all he's been through, right, it could have definitely went another way. You have to have such toughness and such ambition and drive to keep going. And even he's even came beyond and started to thrive, right, with his real estate deals and be a success. And so that's really amazing. I can't imagine how he got through all of that, but it was a good episode.
Yeah, and I want to mention too, Rick, what you were saying about how, um, maybe it's not me and you, but it's just the platform in and of itself that I feel like also helps to bring some of that stuff out. But I mean, it- Dan told his sister that he loves her on our
Yeah,
episode, and he's admitted he's never said that to her before. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So it's just like, oh, okay, that's amazing, and I'm happy. I'm super glad that we were able to do that and bring them closer. And she's the one who recommended him to be on the
yeah.
podcast, I just thought it was amazing that this platform can help to plant those seeds.
Yeah, and the other thing I mean, I know I skip around a lot, but the other part about it too is to honor his brothers. He wants to be successful, to show them. I mean, he said that in the episode somewhat to honor. I'm
Mm-hmm.
becoming successful, and what he can do to become successful, and then help other brothers out
Mm-hmm.
to become who they are. That's quite a testament.
Right. Absolutely.
And so and then we went to the Pacific Northwest Survival Games.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a fun conversation. It was a little bit different than our normal conversation. It kind of came out of the conversation that we had with Wild Mountain Man Dan, because he was associated with, he was an instructor with them, and they saw the episode, and Tony had reached out and asked if we would want to have them on the podcast. And what was interesting is you and I had already been kind of talking about that,
Yep.
trying to get them on, and part of it is because I'm kind of trying to make this commitment to try to participate in that 10-day challenge, and so that's a big part of it. And the story that Tony has about sobriety, that just kind of came out. We didn't even know anything really about that until after we had already
Hmm.
decided to make the episode, and it was like, well, of course this is something that we have to talk about. And so yeah, it was interesting conversation. There was some moments though too where I kind of, Tony was like, "Well, this is easy. It's easy. You know what I mean? Just do it. Just quit." And
Yeah.
I'm going, well, I don't think it's. I don't want to say that he didn't have a problem, but I think it's a little insensitive to think that it's that easy for the majority of people. I think it's, there's a lot more to it. But, and again, I don't want to minimize the situation, but I just want to be truthful. I want to be open about that, what was going on in my mind during that conversation. I think it's cool that they're so passionate about, doing things and creating
Yeah.
companies and creating, and I do think that they also value relationships, which is another core value that we have as well. So I think that's part of what helped them, or I guess what would make them more living the Don't Die Rusty ethos.
Mm-hmm. No, and they just had their passion, and I wanted to learn more about what Wild Man Dan was up to in the Pacific Northwest Games, and
Mm-hmm.
and it certainly brought out what it was, and it actually gives me hope, like you were talking before, but it gives me hope. Like they started this saying they were going to have like more or less backyard games, you know what I mean, and let's
Mm-hmm.
then put it on Facebook and have it, and it grew, and that's where I'm hoping Don't Die Rusty goes, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
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 and we have people like your sister and other people that are believing in what we're doing.
Yeah.
Helping us drive the train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought those guys were really unique. They had a really unique and interesting background, right, for being doing survival games. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
surprised me. But the one of the takeaways I had was like I like that they're saying it's not just for the experts, just for the people that consider themselves survival experts, right? And they said, you can come there as a complete novice, and if you're quick learning and crafty, right? You might beat some of those other guys, and that I think is really cool. And also for me, I am very directionally challenged, but I like to hike, and so I think one of the great things that they could do is do quick little learning videos for all of us people that just want to go out there and
Yep.
hike to make sure that we're covered and that we could survive if we get lost and we get off track. Because I don't know if I could. I'd be trying to call you, and
Yeah.
I'd have no self-service, and then
Yeah, honestly, like that reminds me of a time when we went on a hike in Arizona with Riken, and
oh
I
gosh, I know this.
like you, Rick. Like my knees have gotten better, but at that time, for whatever reason, my knees, going downhill is hard. It's harder to go down than it is to go up almost, and so I choose to just kind of run down the hill. You know what I mean? Because it's just easier on my knees. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to run down this hill. I'll meet you at the bottom. And I'm, hucking it down this hill, and I tow a rock and just do the Superman for, gosh, I don't know, 10 feet or something. And
I
then
just saw him rolling.
with my Taekwondo background, like I've got some tumbling skills, so I like tumbled out of it, and there's just a cloud of dust, you know what I mean? And I get my shirt's ripped and whatever, and I banged my hip up or whatever, and of course, me being the tough guy I am, I get up and I'm like, yep, I'm good, and I just kept running down the hill. And I get down to a point where I'm like, okay, I should probably wait here, and so I'm like, oh man, I gotta pee. So like I kind of trailblazed just a little bit. I went off the trail, and I was wearing my Solomon's. I think they're the Speed Cross 3s. And anyway, so I come walking out, and a cactus stuck into the sole of my shoe, and I didn't notice it. And I brushed it across my calf on my other leg and stuck like 10 cactus spines into my leg. So they show up, and I'm sitting there with a cactus stuck in my leg, and I'm bleeding, and it's just like, wow, what a disaster. So, who knows? You might have needed to have some first aid skills when we were out there.
I didn't know
things had
what I
gone a
was
little
going to
more-
find when I got down there. I was really worried, but I had a kind of a similar experience. But I was on vacation with my girlfriends, right? And we were at this resort looking up at this mountain, and we say we're going to go climb that tomorrow. And so we get there, and we have a little bit of stuff. We have like a water bottle, and they hand us a Cliff Bar at the bottom of the trail, and we just start going. And I swear, halfway up, I thought we were going to have to be helicopter lifted out of there. And I'm like, when is this ever going to end? And when we got up, there'd be another like 90-degree trail to go up. Well, here we discovered we got on the most difficult trail. We got on Camelback Trail, which is
you
the
were on
extreme
Camelback.
trail in
Yep.
Phoenix. And here we were just thinking we were going to go on this nice little hike, and pretty soon we're on an extreme trail. Well, we were sitting there, and thank God we had that Cliff Bar. But again, you're halfway up. You're like, we got to keep going. And then the thing that really motivated me, there was this older, gray-haired lady as we're sitting there just sweating and trying to catch our breath, and she's like cruising up the hill. And, and there's all these people passing us that do this every day, right? They do it for
Yeah,
exercise. And so I just look at them, I go, we got to get up and do this, and we did it 2 more times going back to Phoenix, but we were prepared. It's a whole different thing when you know what you're getting into and you're prepared than if you just accidentally go on the wrong trail.
Yeah, I like what you said about their background too. Just being, with Tony being in the fashion industry, and just like when you look at his social media page, you're like, okay, and then the 2 very big extremes, right? And so I feel like that might be part of it too, where he's so immersed. Well, for a while anyway. I don't think he's in the fashion industry now, but he was so immersed in it for a period of time that I suppose maybe he just wanted to get away and get out and go do stuff, and had that need for adventure, and
do some backyard games that turn into this huge thing. That's a pretty cool story.
So, but hopefully, if things go as planned, my reel will go over well, and they'll accept me, and I'll get in. And I'm still waiting for somebody to chime in and joining me for that 10-day challenge. So let me know.
I think she's sitting beside you.
Right.
Not it.
Not it.
Like, even I was so proud of you guys when you did the 7 peaks, and I was like, I would have went on the first one with you, and then I would have. Like, where'd Christy go?
Yeah,
you would have had more fun on the last one, though. It wasn't very good. That last one was sucked.
Yeah, with the challenge though, I thought we would have so many people that would volunteer that we would have to have like a mini challenge to decide who was going to participate with me. But I guess not. I guess I'm not that cool. Oh, well.
You can do it. Sold.
Well, and
I'll let them pick my partner. That's fine.
Yeah. And lastly, we have the one and only Sam Sohol.
Yeah, our boy.
I mean, we're both lucky to call him friend, and we're both lucky to know him, and truly know him. And it was cool, and it was a great conversation, because I think Sam gets talked about everything in the hunting industry for all the time, and I just wanted to go in a different direction, and we didn't know this. I mean, we knew that Oakley was due on Friday. That was the due date.
Yeah, and we interviewed him on Monday.
Yeah, and she was born on Wednesday. But it was funny, because in our conversations and texts, it was like, are we going to be the last conversation before you have the baby? And you're just giving a heck of back and forth. But, it's interesting, because I'm excited to talk to him in another episode, to see, because we got to talk to him just days before the Oakley was born, and then it would be fun to talk to him, like a recap episode of what happened, how'd it go, and because I actually had asked Sam if Ashley would come on the conversation too, and he said no, but she didn't want to, but I thought that would have been interesting too. But I've never been pregnant, and I don't think I ever will be, but so I don't know that kind of stuff. But that conversation, I learned a lot, because I'll take, for me, and I'll let you guys get to it, but I learned that, like, we talked to Mitch and we talked to Sam. My similarities are that Sam shot that Joe Rogan with the moose leg, and that's all over. That's one of the most probably seen pictures that I know. I mean, for that kind of thing, because of the person that was in it and the other part. But that's like hearing your first song on the radio, like we talked, and we get to see different professionals in different areas, genres, different. Like, Mitch is a singer, Sam's a videographer, photographer, and we get to see these different people like that, and that was very interesting. And then, like I said, to be able to call them both friend, I I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the photography. I enjoyed talking about kids. Talked about the Achilles and stuff like that. So it was just a great. That was really a fun conversation.
Yeah, it was cool because the conversation those are the kind of conversations that we usually have with them. You know what I mean? They're much more personal than the types of conversations that will hear when he's doing other podcasts and stuff like that. But we've never had the conversation, or at least I haven't, with him about his thoughts on being a dad and what that journey's like. And to your point, it's really cool to have that conversation within days before, and then it'll be neat to have that conversation after to see if anything's changed, if his expectations are, if that's different than what he thought, because it was very different for me, and I imagine it was, I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't know what to do, in that
Right.
moment, and so, it'll just be really cool to have that conversation, and yeah, he's just all around just awesome guy,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
and he's very humble in everything. He's super talented, and he's done a lot of really really amazing things in his life. Just lives a really a life that I think a lot of people would envy, and
Yep.
and he does it well. So yeah, it was really cool to talk to him.
Yeah, he's a really good guy, and I liked that he was talking about the balance that you need in your life, right? And he's had some curveballs thrown at him, right? He's got a lot of things coming at him, right? So you have a busy career, you're traveling all the time. All of a sudden, this injury, it kind of knocks you down. You have a new baby on the way, but I mean, to just be able to keep such a positive attitude and just say, I'm adapting and I'm gonna figure it out, and that's really, life is a lot about balance and trying to figure that all out.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that he talked about how you can go to a really dark place, and he doesn't seem like the kind of dude that I feel would ever be in a dark place. But as we all get to those moments, I know he gets to them too, and so yeah, it was really cool that he talked about that too.
You can talk to people like I'm 3 months in and I'm going to have a baby. I mean, you find out that you're going to have a baby,
Mm-hmm.
and you can have that excitement and the jitters and everything else. But where I'm going with this is we got lucky because you're having a baby like soon, like real soon. It's like it's not far off. I mean, months are far off,
Mm-hmm.
but days are closer, and you're going. And I was just lucky. I just think we were lucky to have a conversation like that
Mm-hmm.
like days before because you really know what's happening. It's not like, oh, you're going to have a baby here in 6 months or you know what I mean or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's like, no, it's happening this week,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
lives are going to change. I just, that's why I like doing this podcast is because we get lucky in some of these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to take conversations into even like with Sam, even to go just into an even deeper level. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And yeah, just it's an amazing time. I will say that.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Christy, what's your favorite episodes though? You can pick. What's your if you had a go-to of your top 5 episodes, what would it be?
Yeah, well, I mean, what really first got me hooked was Fiona Pierce, right? Just saving lives. Crazy story, so I really liked that. And again, like I said, I'm highlighting the females here, right? But Emily with the ultra running and the endurance, super super cool there. Tomy and Dara, right? Was just extreme support that woman has. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I loved
She
that as well. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she was tough. I mean, you
yeah,
think about how many times she could have said, "Screw ya,
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
done,"
for sure.
and you don't see that in many people these days.
Yeah,
Like the total what the I don't know the belief
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
in a
Yeah.
person.
And the other thing that really hit me with a sober cowboy, right, with Lacey Singleton, and I mean, just what an impressive young woman. You know, in my 20s, I promise you, I was not thinking about anything like that, right? And just what a positive mission and great things she's doing. So I think those have been my favorite, along with, you know, I mentioned it, but watching you guys do the Seven Peaks was really cool. And again, you guys are brave. I'm proud of you. Good job for making it through.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
thankfully I had so much going on that I couldn't even really worry about it too much. You know what I mean? We were
yeah,
just so busy doing stuff that it was just like, all right, I'm going to do this, rain or shine, whether I collapse or who knows, we'll see what happens. But that was
but
fun.
those are yeah, and the Seven Peaks. I mean, I'll talk, but like Lacey, that is amazing about what she's gone through. Like you were talking before, and I know I wasn't that put together at 20, and I'm 56 now, and I'm still not put together. So I know that that's amazing there.
Yeah.
But the Seven Peaks, if people really would listen to that, because to me, you see the whole aspect of life in 24 hours because you see the excitement, but you see I mean, Ricky and and Troy know the parts that we're sucking, but but we also know that when we're done, I mean, I've never been to those places. I've done the Seven Peaks. I did the Seven Peaks the year before we did this, and I felt great afterwards, you know. But this time it hit me hard,
Hmm.
and y- y- I think people need to go through some things to see what they are made of, and that is I'm not a world class athlete, and I don't claim to be, but I like going to those places that test yourself and test your mentality. And as you know, by listening to this, Christy, I like to get a little philosophical in life and introspective. And I think if people are scared to go be introspective, then they haven't got to that peaceful part yet.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely.
And I can say I was not faking when I threw up over a Harney Peak over there. I was not. That's anyway.
I thought you were at first, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just. It was funny because Susan even commented on that too, because we were live, right? So
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
quick just like spun the camera around because I didn't want to sit there and record you doing that, and then but you can still hear you in the background. Oh, and it, we can laugh at it now, but yeah, to your point, we, saw the highest of high and the lowest of low, and 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 it was also a test of relationships as well. And to be honest, I mean, if that's the worst that it's going to be, we got this, because that was nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it wasn't even a big deal. It was just you get dehydrated, you get malnourished, and you get frustrated, and that's just what happens.
You
So
endured. I took the summer off from the gym, and I just started again last week. And so I did my first dance class, and it's an hour long. And I'm telling you, I was struggling in the end, but you got it once I a couple weeks down the road, I'll be able to do it. And
hmm
I also do a
Yeah.
warrior sculpt class, like it's hot yoga with cardio and strength. I
Uh,
mean, it is tough, and I got through that too, and I know it's just going to keep getting easier and
hmm
easier. And so
hmm
yeah, just got to get back at it and keep doing it.
it's
yeah.
well, yoga's wild. I'm always like, "Pff, what? Come on, And so I'll do some yoga with Susan, and it makes me cry.
Yeah, it's
Like
not
I am
easy.
in so much pain. I'm the most inflexible person in the world, and then
You're
and I,
talking to the most inflexible person in the world, not you.
oh well, then I'm number two.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, that sounded weird. I'm number two. But anyway, yeah,
We'll
like
ask
I
Christy about
can't.
that one.
It's it is amazing what yoga can do for you.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's the cold water immersion and all those different types of things. It has that similar thing where it puts you through this painful struggle, and then, so it brings you below your standard homeostasis, and then when you're done with it, and I think it's the same thing like with the runner's high, like it just slingshots you out of that, and then you just have this like euphoric feeling, where instead of doing it the other way around, where you get high and like literally get high off of whatever drug, and then you crash, and then it takes you below that homeostasis level, and then you go through, bouts of depression and all kinds of different things, and you got to get yourself back up to it, so then you're doing the drugs again. So it literally is a drug, but it reverses the process. And it's, those struggles, man. It's what you got to go through them. So
yes, you do.
Yeah, I like to give you the honors, Rick, because you came up with that idea, and so I like you to ask it.
So, Christy, what is the good life to you?
Well, it's amazing how many people answer that with kind of the same thing, but just being around, being with the people that I care about is first and foremost, right? But also, the good life to me is going to be my commitment to you guys is to keep living this "Don't Die Rusty" motto, right? I'm going to keep traveling and exploring, and I love to spend time outside in the sun, and so hopefully someday I kind of want to be somewhere south in the winters at least to get out of the winters. And then the last thing is I was gonna write work-life balance, but I changed it to work-play balance, because I want to make sure as I go through my life that I always keep that good balance. And as hard as I work, I need to play the same amount too. So that is a good life to me. Being on this podcast was great. Thanks for having me. It's a good life day to day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was awesome. Thank you for that. Rick, you got anything else, bud?
No, I just want to say thank you for coming on, and thank you for being a supporter and a fan of Don't Die Rusty, and hopefully you can watch us grow and keep on just asking the questions that we need to ask and having the conversations that we need to have, and the most important thing is like I enjoyed chatting with you because it makes me feel like we're doing something good when you can find something that out of each episode that strikes you. And if we can do that to you, and we can do it to whoever listens to this or whatever else, those days that you are tired and you feel like maybe I need to stop and take a rest are the days that you keep moving forward and you keep on influencing somebody else. So thank you for being on here, and thank you for all you've done for us.
Thank you.
Thanks, big sis.
Thanks, little bro.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of this episode, folks. You can find Don't Die Rusty on Instagram and on Facebook. Make sure that if you're listening, you head over to your favorite platform, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Give us a review and a 5-star rating. We would certainly appreciate it. And of course, don't forget to chase your dreams, live your best life, and don't die rusty.
Don't die rusty. Thank you.